had some albums.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they just put out the two together, didn't they, on a CD? Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think that's the weird thing. Is like, I think there's that religious stories are really amazing sources, and it's really amazing imagery. And I think in our culture they belong to everyone, and religious people can't police the way that they're used because it's out there now. You know, it's a kind of common treasury.
Well, I'm going to bleep all of what you've just said because it's a little bit too controversial for my audience on a Sunday afternoon. So that's actually just going to be a drone. I'm going to bring in the wheat band again. Yeah. The Wheat Futures in again. I'm just going to drone right through, lest we upset anyone, and we'll just come back with this. It's all about whatever you believe.
Well, that is the standard of debate of the Radio 2 Sunday morning religion.
That terrible kind of everyone's able to have their own opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I because of the subject material of the Judas show being about Judas, I was asked to do a lot of the religious programs. I kind of thought, what's the point? It's an 80-seater room. It's selling out. No one that listens to those kind of Radio 2 Sunday morning religious pap is going to understand it or like it or ever go to the theatre. But if I go on them, I just draw a load of fire and get loads of stupid hate mail from loonies. So it's kind of, you sort of realise that, but actually some priests have been in who've really liked it, because obviously a priest knows what they're talking about, but someone from Christian Voice or someone who thinks that Aled Jones is a valid religious commentator isn't going to really get it. So, just keep your head down.
More beeping there. Alright, so Stuart, listen, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate bringing the songs in, and I would love for you to come in again. I know you've got to go off and do other stuff. Now, I'm going to play the song. Each week I have a song which is religious in tone, although I myself am not religious. It's a feature we call Jesus Christ. I love that one. And this is Judy Sill, who, if you've not heard it before, is an interesting one. I'll mention a little bit about Judy's past after we've heard this. This is a song called Jesus Was a Crossmaker. Jesus Was a Crossmaker from Judy Sill. Gentlemen, have you heard Judy Sill before?
Not me. No.
Let me tell you a little bit about her, because she's a woman of an interesting pedigree. She only recorded 2 albums, and they were re-released recently, and that was from her first album, Judy Sill. And she was a woman who, she grew up, blah, 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 then she got into a bad crowd, and she started holding up liquor stores and doing armed robberies for kicks. And then she'd upset her family because she'd married some ne'er-do-well, who then they got divorced because the parents had it annulled, and then he was for some reason rafting in a rubber dinghy down some rapids, and he died because he was on LSD. And then she moved to LA, where she became a piano player, but then she became a junkie, and then she was sometimes a prostitute. And then she lived in a car, but she lived in a car with 4 other people, and they had to take it turns, shift work basically, to sleep in this car. And then she started playing beautiful songs, having been in sort of prison and stuff. And then she put out an album that was on Asylum Records, which was the label set up by David Geffen, who then put out records by the Eagles and stuff like that. And then she put out a second album, and then later she died of a drug overdose. Round of applause for that. That was a summary there of Judy Sill, and I think you'll appreciate the music nerds are loving that information, aren't they? They're absolutely they enjoyed it. What's your take on Judy Sill?
Well, I enjoyed it for about a couple of minutes, but I felt she was going on a bit. I just was worrying all the way through it about what my mum's thinking if she's listening, because she loves Aled Jones. I know Stu has a few issues, so I just wanted to make sure that we're just getting the love out.
That'll all be bleeped out, Howard, don't worry, there won't be a mention of that.
Fine, cheers.
So, Dan, what were your thoughts?
Well, I didn't mind it, although in retrospect, having heard that life story, a life story like that, and then producing music like that, I'm a little bit disappointed.
Really?
Yeah, well, I was hoping for something a bit more, that's an amazing story, isn't it? So, something just a bit more...
a bit more aggressive?
Well, yeah, it seemed quite traditional, and for someone who's lived out of their head on crack in a car, going down a raft on acid.
You're expecting something a little bit, a bit more wilder.
A little bit,
a bit crazier. I just think it sounds to me like it's one of those. It's like a biopic waiting to happen, isn't it? Someone's going to buy the rights to that life story. They're going to make a film of it. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to win Kate Blanchett or someone an Oscar, and then they're going to put out that music, and then it's all going to take off. And everyone's going to love it. It's going to be like Nick Drake, and I feel like I want to somehow get on that bandwagon.
Do it.
How can I do it? How can I buy shares in the Judy Sill story?
Well, you should ask the people making the film if you could buy some shares in the story.
Thanks very much, mate. That's why you're not only my flatmate, but my legal counsel. From 1973, that's Sly and the Family Stone, and If You Want Me to Stay. It's the Steve Show on tape, live from London. We're actually off doing other more glamorous things. I'm in the City of Angels, LA. I don't know what time it is now, but I imagine I'm probably just popped round to the Playboy Mansion to check out Hugh Hefner and the ladies. Just having a margarita with him on the porch for breakfast. You know it. And Howard, what would you be doing about now? Obviously, you're in Australia.
Yeah, I'll be throwing some kind of ocean-dwelling creature onto a hot cooking device outside, perhaps.
I'm thinking shrimps, I'm thinking barbers, you clever swine.
Oh,
Do you know what? If I wanted to, I could call you a bastard and they bleep it out, but I'm not going to because that would be crass and cheap and pathetic.
Thanks for that, Steve.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have more choices from you, the listeners. If you want to get in touch and recommend songs that you'd like to see on the Steve Show playlist, you can go to bbc.co.uk is that right? /6 music? That's right, I think. And obviously don't try and email or text because we're not here, we're not live, it's just going to go off into the ether. But you can recommend tunes and other bods of recommended tunes. Dan, who have you got for us?
I am vouching for Lauren Barrow's choice, which I think is an excellent choice. It's Willie Mason. I don't know if you're aware of Willie.
I'm aware of Willie.
Okay, and his song...
We'll bleep that, don't we?
His song, Oxygen.
Oh, excellent.
And start again anew.
But that's got to be over, isn't it? It's as good as over. Willie Mason and Oxygen, and we've heard Willie Mason and Oxygen, I believe, before on 6 Music. Dan, what was the reason for championing that one?
From me or from Lauren?
Either.
Okay, well, I'll give you Lauren's reasons first. She says an amazing song, more about the lyrics than a catchy tune.
Sure.
And it's a raw acoustic track. I think we'd all agree with that. It's very stripped down, very minimal. There's a folky sound to it, and Mason is the offspring of a couple of folk singers whose names I haven't really bothered to check. He has got a pathetic 10,000 MySpace friends.
Really?
The Cold War kids earlier had more than 30, so he's not a popular man. But that may tie in quite nicely with his new gimmick, in which he's offering fans the chance to host a gig from him in their very front rooms. They have to log on to his website and enter, and you can win the chance to
And
get
Willie will come and play out there.
Willie will visit their house, and Willie will play for them in their very own front rooms.
So we could do that maybe at our house.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
It would be good. That would be great.
Yeah. And you could pull a few strings to get him to come, probably.
Well, I think so. With the kind of power I've got.
And we could probably deny some really, really ardent fans the chance to see him, because we're both sort of fairly indifferent to him.
we are. But it seems like we've played Oxygen there, although as I understand it, he's got a new album and single out.
He has, yes. He's coming back with Save Myself. I think Oxygen was from 2 years ago,
right,
possibly, or 18 months. Again, I might check that. Perhaps we could bleep it out, or overdub with the correct song.
We'll throw in any. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Basically, is we're going to record this show 3 times.
Yeah,
and then we're going to compile together the best bits of those 3 shows, and then with stuff, and we're going to have kind of ambient sounds in the background and music and hilarious sound effects, because sound effects, I'll tell you, squelches, farts, things like that, they are killer. People love that stuff.
They do love that stuff.
I mean, have you listened to the Chris Moore show? I mean, that guy, do you know, seriously, no, I mean, I'm not going to have a go at the guy, because the man's genius. And that guy can speak for hours, you know, and sometimes, I mean, you know, Stuart was saying about people who like to do things that are almost perverse to annoy the audience.
Yeah.
You know, just don't even think about trying to entertain them. Just talk in the hope that they'll annoy the audience. And sometimes, you know, I wonder if that's what Chris is up to.
Who knows?
Because the guy is so wild. I mean, sometimes I've listened to him, I've thought, well, what's this? This is not even a coherent sentence, Chris. This is just talking. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to emulate now in this sentence.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get a little bit of that Moylesy charm.
Yeah, no, it was good. And back to Willie.
Oh yeah.
So you might notice that, you know, it's different to the sort of it's almost like the stuff that even you like.
Oh, I love a man and a guitar.
Yeah, quite stripped down and folky. But I think it's a nice tune. It's got a great video as well, in which he's just on a pickup truck driving through rural America. It's got a really nice atmosphere about it. Feels quite exotic to a Londonite.
Well, listen, you've sold it heavily and heartily, and I appreciate that. Although, of course, it can't make it straight onto the Steve Show playlist until we've heard the choice that Harry is championing.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. This week, my second choice is from Mike in Seattle. That's true. The people of England ran out of good selections for me. I've had to go overseas for this one. Sparkle Horse, though, a band very close to my heart. Essentially, the work of maverick genius Mark Linkus, who basically lives in a shed and every 3 or 4 years releases an album of songs about spiders and goats, basically. But it's not all spiders and goats. This is a track that's not specifically about spiders and goats, and it's called Please Don't Take My Sunshine Away.
Sparkle Horse, Don't Take My Sunshine Away. Harry, who are we championing that on the behalf of?
That's from Mike in Seattle.
What do you make of Mike's choice, Dan?
Well, it just seemed to go mental then, didn't it? The last 10 seconds, that's thrown me a bit. I was ambling along, and I've had the rug pulled from under me, so I don't know where I am, Steve.
You don't know where you are. You don't know what your
what's
name is.
going on. No.
Fair enough. Well, your name is Paula.
Okay.
And you are a masseuse. That's the kind of wacky banter that I think a lot of people are hoping for on Six Music. But of course, we know it's all about the music. It's all about the music. I've enjoyed Spark Chorus in the past. You've played a few tunes to me in the past, Howard, and you've never quite won me over. I don't know what it is. I don't know why they don't quite get under my skin.
No, I don't know what it is. No, that's really for you to answer.
If you'd like to get in touch and try and tell me why Spark Chorus has never quite got under my skin, then you can. Obviously, don't email or text, but maybe write a letter. No one writes a letter anymore, or send an email.
Yeah.
Can we? What is the email address? Do we remember what the email address is? We don't, luckily, which is great because it's something like Stephen Dots or whatever, but don't email because the point is that there's no one here. This is on tape. We have pre-recorded this show for your and it's weird because I thought if we pre-recorded the show, it's going to be the best one we've ever done. We can cut out all the
rubbish.
but it's weird, isn't it? We've sort of lost our way. It's because we haven't got the adrenaline. We're not fired up in the way. So let's try and make the last half hour the best half hour ever. All right, guys? Because in the final half hour, we should clap. In the last half hour, we've got obviously Richard's fiendishly difficult music question, which is always absurd, and we've also got Dave the Walker, who of course is walking from Land's End to Dano Groats.
It's all falling
It's
apart
alright, they
again.
complete that bit. This is just going to be one long. It's going to sound like a fire alarm by the end of this show. The reason I was screwing my words up there was because I hadn't just told you who had won that last musical duel. And what were the choices again? No, quick, come on.
Well, I was the Cold War Kids, which I lost with, and then I was Willie Mason just then.
Willie Mason,
with
Oxygen.
Yeah, Sparkle Horse, obviously.
Okay, Willie Mason, well done.
Get in.
Alright, listen, we've got the news very shortly, but in the meantime, let's hear, we have our regular covers session where I play a popular cover choice. This one, I'm sure everyone's heard it before, but it's always worth hearing again. Let's quickly hear the jingle.
Mr. Cover!
I think it might be racist. This is Johnny Cash and One. From Diamond Dogs, 1974. David Bowie and Rock and Roll With Me. An amazing tune. I'm not even sure that was a single. That's the stuff he just sticks on an album, buries it away on an album that probably sold, 1 million copies. So there we are. You've never been a David Bowie fan, have you, Hal?
Not massively, no. But I did like Suede at the time because I was a young kid, and that song is basically Stay Together by Suede, So I think David Bowie nicked it off him.
Have you re-evaluated your musical tastes as a youth?
I got it all wrong.
Sure. Listen, let's not lie to anyone. We are not live. We are on tape. If you've just joined us, it has been a mediocre show. I'm not going to lie to anyone. I'll tell you what it is. We realised, I didn't think that the adrenaline of the live experience is what made us the kind of major broadcasters we are, but it turns out that is the case. And so next week, obviously, we'll be back live, firing on all cylinders. I apologise for that. If you're expecting us to cheer up your Sunday afternoon, in actual fact, you found it to be a bit dull. At one point, I even referred to Dano Groats. I was trying to explain Land's End to John O'Groats, and I just said Dan O'Groats. And
why not?
And the reason I mentioned Dan O'Groats at all was because, of course, each week we've been catching up with our friend Dave, who, for no very good reason, has been walking from Land's End to Dan O'Groats, which is up in Scotland. And we don't really know why he's doing it. We've never really got to the bottom of that. He's certainly not doing it for charity, which is very, very perverse. We're catching up with Dave again now. Dave, are you there?
I am Steve.
Now, of course, this is very bizarre. Because we are pre-recording the show, we have to just speculate where you might be when this show is being broadcast. So this is about, what, a week, 2 weeks before?
We're about 10 days out.
About 10 days out. So where roughly do you think you'll be in 10 days' time?
Well, it's a ludicrous idea. I don't even know where I'm going to be tomorrow. I mean, if you need adrenaline, I've got plenty of it. I think it's all that's keeping my legs together. But I can stick my finger in the air, and I reckon I will be, by the time this is actually going out, somewhere in the Pennines, maybe Hebden Bridge area around Halifax.
Okay.
Either that or in Southern California, and the way it's going at the moment, I may just pop on a flight over.
Well, you might just pack it all in. Is it not going well? Has it been a difficult week?
Well, I'm sure next week it will have been a difficult week.
Okay, this is amazing. This is so postmodern, isn't it? So okay, so let's assume, because we're going to be speaking to you soon for the live show, let's just not talk about this week. Let's talk about the imaginary next week.
Okay.
So where will you have slept last night, Dave?
Well, I would have spent a bad night in Wolverhampton, possibly as good as it gets around there.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that someone's going to throw golf balls at me.
Why?
Probably not as ludicrous or as far-fetched as it might sound.
Why might they throw golf balls at you?
I really can't go into it, but it will happen.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Now, we've been trying to piece together why it is that you're doing this, and we often a visual hero in some respects, a man who's perhaps a little lost in the universe, like all of us, but a man who wears it on his sleeve, and maybe is trying to discover exactly why he has been put on this planet, and maybe he thought that by doing this preposterous walk, not for charity, that he would somehow add to something. And you've denied that. Sometimes you've said to me, you know, Steve, no, I'm not like that. I'm not a dark soul. I'm not a twisted soul. I'm just a guy doing a walk. Well, I'm going to find a piece of evidence which I think maybe disputes that.